Okay, first things first, how are you feeling after the crash last week? Did you manage to ride at all this week? Do you feel close to 100%?
I think close, no. End up kind of getting I got a big chunk taken out of my leg from the foot peg, so that leg's kind of a bit dead. I kind of messed up my shoulder a bit, so my shoulder kind of gives out like in the long run. But also my neck, I got pretty bad whiplash. So there's multiple things, but we're able to ride on Tuesday and Wednesday. Sadly, it was because I had to get some testing in still. I got to get the bike just wasn't quite right, so we ended up kind of going back to our 23 setting. We're trying to make some new parts work on the 24 that worked in Supercross, but just on outdoors, just those same parts just didn't work as well. So we had to ride sadly. I didn't want to, but we kind of got healed up as best we can. I mean, I've got Dr. G, so he's going to help me with that too. Make sure I'm as best as I possibly can for this for tomorrow. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. We're looking forward to it. And yeah, but hopefully this new bike setup helps also a little bit.
Are you worried about any of these injuries, or do you feel like they will just heal themselves in 1 or 2 weeks?
I think sadly enough, you can only do so much with them. And like you said, they're gonna heal over time. So I think 'cause a lot of it's just kind of pretty badly bruising or out of place. So we'll see. Obviously the wound is haven't had really that before, so we're gonna see how long that takes to heal. But yeah, we'll see how it goes.
What is it that you're struggling to find on the 2024 bike? Is there one particular part that you just can't make work?
Yeah, there was there's kind of like a few things, and literally one of the things that it went down to also was we called it the magic bolt. It helped us in Supercross, but it wasn't helping us in outdoors. Went down to a bolt, and there's some certain parts in the suspension that we ended up kind of working out that just wasn't working, you know. So glad that we were able to find that in only the second round. So hopefully we keep fine tuning and maybe make that other settings better. We'll have to see, but yeah.
Last one. Last year you had a lot of time to prep for 450 outdoors because of the break in 250 West. Has the lack of time to get a bike ready for Pro Motocross caught you off guard this year? Like, is it gnarlier than you even thought?
I think the biggest thing was, obviously, like I said, the time, but then I didn't really get to compare my 23 setup to my 24. We did the 23 setup with the newer parts that we had on that worked in Supercross, but it didn't react the same as the 23 setup that we had. So I think that was the biggest thing that we kind of missed the ball on. That didn't help with it, and obviously would have loved a bit extra more time to get more moto legs under me, but hey, other people are dealing with the same stuff, and yeah.
So last week was massive, obviously. Did this week feel easier mentally? Like, was it just easier to go to work now that you've broken through?
Yeah, I was able to have it just be a little bit more relaxed, and I was able to kind of like step back and then really not apply myself better, but really dissect what I need to work on instead of just like there's like 20 different things. I just like picked one thing this week and kind of worked on that, and I was definitely more relaxed, which was nice. And I didn't have to do bike changes, which is really relaxing for me. I feel like every week since honestly since last year, even on the Honda, I was making bike changes and I wasn't comfortable. So now this week I didn't make any changes, and I was able to just hone in on my riding, so it was nice.
Since you got on the KTM, how do you feel like you've changed as a person? I would imagine you've had to compromise a little bit with just your approach and communication and all of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's been an up and down thing so far, but yeah, it's made me a lot tougher, I would say. I think coming off the Honda, I was like, I don't know, maybe a little less mature. And then this year's really made me mature and kind of take things slow and not take things for granted when they come. So, I don't know. It's been an up and down ride, but I think now we're kind of like hopefully going up. I think since Salt Lake and even those last 3 or 4 rounds of Supercross, I was kind of on the upward trend. So keep that thing rolling.
Yeah, you must feel now like you're ready to take on any challenge. Like, no matter if things go well or bad, you've kind of got the tools to deal with it.
Yeah, I think last week was a good example. I mean, I went down and was able to come back, so I don't want to do that again, but it gives me the confidence to know that I can kind of hopefully dig myself out of some problems. But yeah, I plan on just getting better starts. I worked on a lot of starts this week and putting myself in a good position. But yeah, I'm definitely a lot more calm, more confident, and we should have a healthy Jett this weekend. So go out there and battle it out.
What are we doing about starts? Is it the same issue as in Supercross? Is it a different fix? Where are we at?
It's a little bit of similarities. I don't know. I'm just lazy off the gate. And that's kind of the biggest thing. I lose off the first 10 feet, and then I'm screwed for the rest of it. So really worked on reaction and just driving off the gate good. And we'll see what we get this weekend.
I feel like a you and Jeffrey focus group would be really useful.
Yeah, he's not. The starts aren't very good for him either, are they?
I'd imagine he's probably a bit lazy off of the gate as well.
Yeah, I would think so. I don't know. Him and I kind of have the same problem a little bit, getting off the gate. So I don't know. But he got a good start second moto, no?
Yeah. We don't say much more about that because it didn't really end the way everyone expected.
But he passed everybody first moto besides Jorge, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
And second moto, he was flying.
What is this weekend's a sand track, right?
Yeah. He should. If he doesn't go 1-1 this weekend, then it will be time to
It's like a panic.
ask questions.
It's a panic button.
But I'm going next week to fix issues.
Oh, you're going next week? Mm-hmm. So no high point?
No high point. So maybe a low point for you?
No.
Okay. I felt like you needed me more than that.
Well, we don't want any low points.
Okay, that's fair.
So.
Last question. What's your biggest strength outdoors? Where do you feel like riding-wise you're at your strongest on track?
I would say the turns and just overall flow around the track. I feel like I'm able to piece the track together well, where it's not you could say fitness or whatever, but I feel like overall riding the way I ride and I pick apart the track, it doesn't take as much energy maybe as some other guys. So I would say that's probably my strength, and that's why I'm able to keep kind of going towards the end of the motos. I'm riding pretty eco-friendly, I would say. At least I tried to. Last weekend, maybe not so much eco-friendly, but I didn't really have the luxury of that. So,
it's a solid start to the season for you. I would imagine that maybe you feel like you left a win on the table last week. It was kind of yours for the taking, but overall solid to start.
Yeah, for sure. Someone said before it felt like last weekend didn't go my way, and I wouldn't look at it that way, with the bike I had and where I was at on the day. I think it was still a really good day. There was a lot of times, believe me, in the second moto where I was trying to push, but even the first moto, I had too many I seen Jesus moments out there, and it was just a decision I made, and hey, I could go for it. The chances of me ending up on the ground are very high to up the pace. And it was round 2. So yeah, my win will come. I'm sure it will. And we improved the bike this week as well. So who knows, maybe this weekend we can make something happen.
I don't know if Jett was just talking in code, but he was talking about bike setup and explaining this magic bolt that doesn't work outdoors.
He's gone about
Can you break that down for me a bit better?
No, it's a magic bolt. But no, we changed the bike a lot this week and we got a better understanding for it. And just honestly, go back to base, honestly, which is good. Sometimes you glorify the past on how good something felt, so it's good to revisit stuff, and sometimes you're right. So it was a good, just come back down to base, and I think we're going to have a lot better bike this weekend.
Was it just suspension you were struggling with, or something more specific?
Yeah, suspension. There's just, that 450 is such an animal, man. I think that people at home would be gobsmacked if you really knew how sensitive that motorcycle is at the level we're racing it, and at the level of R&D and stuff where we have, obviously we can't do stuff with chassis-wise because of the production rule, but just so many other little things, engine characteristics, how that affects the bike, suspension, all the stuff. I don't want to go into too much detail because maybe someone else is struggling with stuff that I might give out a little bit of a lead on, so we'll keep it to ourselves.
Last question, kind of a broader one. Since you left Europe, do you feel like your motocross skills, outdoor specifically, have improved or kind of stabilised? Or
fuck, we're so much worse. Geez, do we even need to go into the detail on our motocross? I think towards the end of the season, obviously you've seen last year Jett was able to run with those guys in Nations, same with myself. But do I think we're better? No, I think the good guys will always be good, but it's just simple, mate. We ride Supercross 6, some guys 7 months of the year. We have like I said, I did 3 30-minute motos before Pala. Like with the testing and stuff, I had 3 proper 30-minute motos of where I was logging a pre-season, like the guys in the GPs, and then we're racing at round 1. So I would be arrogant to think, oh yeah, I'm a better motocrosser now than what I was in the GPs when 4 days a week in the winter, you're logging motos, laps, settings, testing, all that stuff, you know.
Yeah, I didn't know if because you were so young when you left Europe, if there was still so much more upside, or at least maybe you could stabilize it. So yeah, you're a unique situation.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's fair to say in Europe at the time I was there, if you weren't on a factory team, Red Bull, KTM, Kamiya, Suzuki, they closed down. Even still, the bike, in comparison to an Austrian bike, I mean, it's no secret. There were the budget wises and stuff like that. That was really the only factory team was an Austrian brand or even Kamiya, you know. And I wasn't on any of those teams. Suzuki, great year. I was 17, you know. So there's so much of the athlete that's yet to be built. Just one of those things, you know, maybe you see all the guys come through the Red Bull program, they hit MX2 and it's like, oh my God, they're phenoms already, you know. Whether that's because they're much more talented than other guys on other teams, I don't know.
So obviously Moto2 last week was a big breakthrough for you. Explain the bike changes you made before that and whether they're going to help you through the rest of the season.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. I wasn't happy Pala and first moto Haiden with the balance on my bike. The front was too high and I was like, I can't ride, to be honest. I was really mad after the first moto because I was behind Haiden and I was like, I'm riding slow, I can go faster with him, I can catch this guy, but I just don't feel comfortable, I just can't. But I know I can do it. So I was like, guys, we have to change something. I think it comes from the shock, and we changed the shock and went back to a little bit what I was in Europe, the same setting, and was way better. I was like, this is what I want, and I just fed it on the track. I could show it too, so that was nice. Catching all the guys, passing everyone, so it was really a nice moto, and hopefully we can, continue that way for the rest of the season.
So some of the settings that you ran in Europe still work here to an extent?
Yeah, I'm kind of the same fork, to be honest, for like 2 or 3 years. And the shock I was struggling a little bit. Obviously, we have a different shock than last year again. So I was like, I don't feel comfortable. So we tried to match the setting I had before, and second moto was good.
At any point in the first couple of motos, did you freak out? Like, were you worrying about whether you could fix this?
Not really, because I was riding, like, to be honest, 80%. I was finishing the moto not even tired. I was super pissed after Pala because first moto I couldn't ride. And I knew I was pretty good because I was riding not slow, but like 80%. I wasn't pushing. And first moto I was only like 10 or 12 seconds from Levi and Haiden. I was like, I can go easily that pace with them. And Haiden, same. First moto I was behind Haiden for a few laps, and then when he started pushing, I was like, I can do that, but I just don't feel comfortable. And I'm happy that I could show it, I would say, second moto. And hopefully we can show it again this weekend.
What did you think of this place last year? Is it a track that suits you? Do you think it will work for the bike setup?
It's a good track, big ruts, pretty rough, so that should be good for me. We're on elevation, pretty high. Should be good.
At the end of your second motos, are the tracks rougher here than in Europe or the other way around?
I would say it's really rough here. If you compare, for example, a sand track, I would say no. Like, we have GPs in the sand that's really rough. But a hardpack track, I would say yes. They fix a lot during the day in GPs. For example, for the 250 moto in GPs, they fix a lot of corner. And there's not so many ruts because the track are pretty dry over in Europe. And here it's really rough. And I think the biggest difference is the speed. We go way faster than in Europe, like all the track. Pala is really fast. Haiden, we go down the hill like super fast. And I feel like the speed in Europe is slower, the track. If you watch Touch and Tire, it's super slow.
Yeah.
I think they ride like second or third gear all track. I'm riding third and fourth gear and even fifth sometime here in the US. I never shift to fifth in Europe in my whole life. And here sometime I have to. The track, that's the biggest difference. The speed here in outdoor, the track are way faster than Europe.
Do you like for higher speed here? Because I feel like you're a technical guy. When the track's slower and you can pick apart ruts, that's when you're at your best.
True, so that's why when the track is rough, I really like, so the speed slow down a little bit. That's nice that they rip it down so we have big ruts, make the track a little bit slower, but Yeah, I'm getting used to it. Sometimes first moto, they fix a lot from outside and the track is pretty fast. So I need to get better on that. But I'm getting better and yeah, hopefully should be good this weekend.
I'd have to say, Haiden, that you're probably like a lot of your top guys, very naturally motivated. So after last weekend, the second moto, the helicopter, look, you're still on the podium. Most people would probably look at that as like, oh, it's a good weekend. I could imagine you were still frustrated after the race because letting a win slip. It's still early in the season, but I just know that you're the kind of person that basically probably wants to win every time they get on track.
Yeah, definitely. I know. I was sitting at my house and I was like the inside of my body was like hurting. I was like, dude, I can't believe I threw that away. Like it was another win. Like I could have kept like one weekend that I just threw away. And like honestly, this whole last week, it's kind of like inside. I've been like, damn, bro, I can't believe I did that. And then you're like, well, I still got the overall. You're like, that's 3 more points that you just threw away. And I'm like, I'll learn from it though. I mean, obviously it sucks, but yeah, it's just those type of things you got to learn from. Maybe I don't know. They were saying like pressure and stuff in the race, but I'm like, that's not pressure. Tom was 3.5 seconds behind me. Like that's not pressure. Pressure is when you got Joe behind you and you're trying to win a title, the SMX. That was pressure. Yeah. Or I mean, the last round at Salt Lake, Smitty was on my rear tire the whole race. But honestly, that wasn't pressure. It was a mistake. Bit me. But
I would say that's got to be the more it's one thing if somebody's pressuring, but when you toss it yourself, you're like, again, most people would be more than thankful to even get the results you do, but I know the kind of person you are. You're probably just going to be sitting there like, I cannot believe I did that.
Yeah, I mean, it just upsets me that I did that. I mean, it is what it is. Obviously, it's over now. Got the overall, which we're hyped about. Still got the check, the overall check, P1. So that's all that matters. And we got points as well. So, yeah.
I'm guessing you would have saw this weekend the cool statistic that popped up against your first 15 races, because naturally, with the trajectory you have, a lot of people compare you to, where is he at versus Jett? Where is he at versus the greats? Because you're trending, you're progressing, etc. Your first 15 races versus him is quite excellent. Like, again, some people would compare, maybe not apples to oranges. They'll look at riders at later points in their 250 career. I think some people forget still how early you are into your run. That first 15 race statistic was cool to see.
Yeah, that was cool. Definitely, the stats against Jett and stuff, and obviously he's progressed crazy since then in general. But yeah, just seeing stuff like that's cool. I mean, 2 young guys in the sport. I mean, we're definitely growing the sport too. Bring in, you look at that post, they do that post, you go underneath that has 700 comments. Like, where me and Jett are bringing a lot of eyes to the sport. And no matter if it's people that don't like us or like us, it's still good for the sport, bringing more people, seeing more viewage, and evidently, eventually it's more money towards the riders as well.
So I feel like there's been a lot of talk on progression. Like Levi has definitely stepped up his game this year. Tom has stepped up his game. Haiden has stepped up his game. I don't know if people realize as much watching certain things you're doing on the bike because you're the title favorite coming into it. They're like, oh, of course, he's expected to win. But I remember watching the open rounds. I was impressed with some of your line selection, where you're sweeping, where you're looking on the track. And I was surprised how many riders I talked to. Actually, Chance was one of them. He's like, dude, he took lines. When he came around me, he was in places on the track I wasn't thinking of.
Yeah.
So again, I look at that as people see your riding style. They may not notice like the places you are still progressing and picking up.
Yeah, definitely. I'm still young. I'm only 18. Like I'm racing. Chance is the other youngest dude that I'm racing against, honestly. He's 18 or 19. And then these other dudes, Tom Vialle is pretty much a veteran on outdoors. He's got 2 MXGP titles. Shoot. Our class has got a lot of guys that have been around for a while, and us young guys, we got to learn quick. And it's nice picking up off these old guys that are in the class, and then we can add our bit of, knowledge to it. So I feel like the line choice and stuff is just something I've learned growing up, and my dad has taught me a lot in lines too. He drove cars while I was young racing, so it's kind of like race cars, you got to open everything up, so kind of learned from him as well.
What would you say, Hangtown was a big round for you even last year, or when coming into this year. Where do you feel like you have improved most? If you go back and watch the tape from last year, this year, playing back in your head, where do you personally feel like you've improved the most?
I feel like, I just got confidence. I get just more and more confidence where you become, you go from a guy that's wanting to win, and now to a guy that's I'm here to win every race, when I show up, I'm my goal is just to win, right? So I feel like confidence thing, and then, my starts, dialing those in, getting better with my technique, riding technique, so I can have better, racecraft like you guys seen last week. And just, there's multiple things that go to it. I'm getting older, I'm getting bigger, stronger, and it's slowly getting better.
Actually, the last one about the stronger. Did the helicopter crash at Hangtown hurt worse than the helicopter crash from Minios, or which one was worse? Because both those are pretty spectacular.
Yeah, the one at Minios, I slapped my head pretty hard and gave myself a concussion, so I couldn't really ride. This one, though, I got whipped. I mean, I was dizzy because, I just spun through the air so fast. But I got up and got back on the bike, and I was like, we're good. I got like a bruise on my leg from the bars, but, it only lasted like 1 day. And you take your ice baths and stuff, and it goes away.
Jordon Smith, I would say so far the results on paper haven't shown how good you've been racing in outdoors. How are you feeling so far personally?
Really happy with how I've been riding. I feel like it could have just as easily been a podium and a top 5 as easily as it's been 2 13ths overall so far. So, excited to be here. It's one of my favorite tracks, and just try to keep pushing and keep grinding and see if we can get these things to turn around.
So coming into Thunder Valley, every team, particularly on the 250 side, has adjustments they make for altitude. I know Star is one of the most forward with having a totally different engine combination, etc.
Yeah.
Is it, like, from doing Denver Supercross this year, doing Salt Lake, are you impressed compared to other teams you've been on, like how much they're able to gain back or maintain in terms of power level when getting to altitude?
Like all the teams now are pretty good at, at getting the bikes to perform as good as possible here. Our bike definitely does, I would say, better than average here. At elevation, I don't know if it's just the extra air it gets through the air box or what, but it's at Salt Lake, I honestly didn't even notice the elevation one time throughout the day, so it's pretty impressive.
First gear kind of start guy here, or can you manage second?
It just kind of depends. We kind of got, it just depends on kind of what the gearing that we've been on. So I think we're running something a little different than last year. Last year, I think I started in first gear. Not sure what we're going to do this year, so kind of see how it feels today in press day, see how the gearing feels, and go from there.
A real talking point this year so far has been how heavy 250 class has been on the scoops because everybody's so focused on the start. Naturally, when you think Thunder Valley, you would think no way in hell. However, tracks do shape up a little bit for a national. Even you guys this week conversing with the team, is it a consideration at every national, hey, we got to at least try it in practice and see, can we use it today? Can we use it in the first moto? How much of a focus is it really this week?
First practice is almost a given to use it on a 250. The track, even if it's not that deep, it's deep enough and wet enough that, the scoop tire really performs pretty well. We run it quite a bit at the farm, and unless it's just really, really dry, it performs pretty good. So, I think that most of the time, even a track like Paula, there was only a couple areas where you really noticed the scoop wasn't very good. So, if you don't have to run it on the track, if you don't have to run it on the start, you're better off just running regular tire. But, it's definitely, the class is so stacked. It's so much about the start. If you need the scoop, get a good start, you got to run it. It doesn't matter how it performs on the track. You're better off starting in the top 5 than starting in the top 5, not being as comfortable on the track, than starting 20th and feeling really good on the track, I would say.
Time Masterpool, we are now 3 weeks into your pro circuit adventure.
Yeah.
I was talking to your mechanic, Ryan Hughes. Sounds like you really haven't touched too much. You mentioned that you started with Hammaker's base setting, but because you're a little more off the back of the bike, you guys just been working with bike balance, but sounds like you haven't really ventured too far.
Pretty much just kind of changing the balance of the bike a little bit because I ride the rear tire and stuff, but made good improvement, mainly just getting used to it. The bike feels so good. I haven't ridden a bike like this where I feel like I have so much more room for improvement, so I'm really hyped. The other day, dude, I felt like Ryan Poto out there, dude. The rear tire was just glued to the ground. So I'm hyped, just looking forward to getting more used to the bike.
I definitely got RV vibes even all the way back at Pauly through the Insta-banger standing all the way through the first corner. That definitely gave me some RV vibes.
Yeah.
So what's your program look like this summer? Infamously, your parents have a facility in Texas.
Yeah.
You've in the past done a lot of riding training there.
Uh-huh.
However, you're very late to joining PC. I imagine being with the team's pretty important and stuff. Are you going to be Cali-based this whole summer? Maybe eventually go to Texas? Do you have a game plan yet?
Yeah, we're going. I'm going straight back to Texas after this round. So I'll go back there, ride the bike in deep loam. I can ride it. We got every kind of dirt out there and stuff, some clay. So I'll go out there and get used to the bike, ride in some tougher conditions in the national, rougher, gnarlier, and do that so I can really get used to the bike. And then I'm sure I'll either go back out to Cali to test and stuff wherever I find it. But I mean, dude, I'm loving the bike. The bike's sick.
So we're also only, I guess we're still a couple rounds away. So we got this week in Thunder Valley, we go High Point, then we go Southwick, then we get to Redbud. Redbud, a lot of people picture your performances there. I know at any point you want to get on the podium before there, but does it feel like you're building a little bit? I'm sure by the time we get to Redbud, you probably really want to fully uncork it, per se.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we had good vibes here.
You did really
good
good
last year, so make it happen this weekend. But, no, I mean, obviously looking forward to Redbud. Main thing, just looking forward to getting East Coast. Hopefully they start ripping the tracks deep again. It's kind of been, pretty hard-back base, and need bringing back the great outdoors, baby, and get it deeper, rougher, and gnarlier.
So that's a really interesting back and forth because we get to the really deep East Coast, there's slot car tracks, and there's a certain amount of riders that don't like it. And I will say a lot of fans don't like it because the racing doesn't look as dicey. Hangtown had some of the best reactions from a fan standpoint on the racing, but you yourself as a rider, I'm guessing you didn't prefer the conditions of a Hangtown.
Yeah, I mean, Hangtown was decent, but I think last year here was a good example. I mean, I went down in the first corner and came back to fifth, and I think both classes was the best racing, and I think that was the gnarliest rutted round in a long time here last year. I think it was rain or something. I don't know what it was, but just got gnarly ruts, and I mean, I think it's better racing with that because then it's like whenever you come on a rider, they can't be blocking you and all that. I mean, there's a million different ruts to choose from, and I believe it's better racing with that, and just for the bike setup, everything. I think it's a lot better, and it kind of brings out, I mean, the gnarlier the better and all that. So, yeah, I think it's better ripping deep, gnarlier the better. I mean, it's a man's sport.
What was the biggest thing that stood out to you when you got on the PC bike?
Just how good it handles. I really like it. The rear tire, you can steer with the rear tire. The rear tire's glued to the ground, so just loving that, yeah.
Nice. Trying to think. How does it actually, so you go in Texas, again, the team is SoCal-based, Mitch is a little bit more thin on guys going out on their own. Who helps you during the week? Do you have a practice mechanic? Is the team getting somebody for you? I guess those are little things you have to figure out.
Yeah, so I have my practice mechanic. He was out in California with us for the last week, and the teams are showing him the ropes with everything. And then, I brought him out to this round too, so he can learn and gel with the team really good. So he knows everything, and then, he'll go home with me, and I'll be my practice mechanic.
Last one. Do you feel pressure right now, whether for the team from yourself, knowing this is a big make or break it kind of to get back into a factory team in a more permanent situation? Is all the pressure really coming from you? Do you feel it much from the team, or is the team just kind of standing back and watching how you develop through this?
Honestly, not really feeling much pressure from the team or that. I feel like most of it kind of comes from myself, but I mean, there's always pressure. You just got learn to deal with it. I love the pressure and I love that, so I look forward to the adversity and all that, so yeah.